for the introduction. Good afternoon, and I would like to start by thanking the organizers of MedTech and AIBC for this invitation to talk about space and why space. So why should you be interested, and what drives us to work and do aspects of research and technology in the context of space. So yes, with me here I have my colleague Gordon Grech, also Jayden Sage, who comes all the way from the States. So why space? Maybe I can say a few words about myself, and then I will leave to my colleagues. So I'm Joseph Borg from Malta. I'm an academic at the University of Malta for the past 10, 12 years now. My main area in research is biomedical science, genetics, genomics, DNA science. And one might ask, why DNA and why space? You might be surprised that what goes on in our labs and on Earth with respect to DNA science, RNA biology, cell biology, it also happens in space to human astronauts, to cell models, to animal models. So what you see here on Earth also takes place in space, and I wanted to be part of this ecosystem. So that's something about myself. Gordon?
Hi. Thank you very much for being here. We're kind of really honored to be opening this up. I come from the tech industry, so I've been in technology for as long as I remember. I co-manage one of Malta's leading IT companies. Shall I start by giving my version of why space? Yeah. So for me, space is what pushes the boundaries of technology and human creativity, basically. Space is very difficult. Everything which relates to space is really difficult, really challenging, and whatnot. So usually, through advances in space technology, we learn more, and those things that we learn from space can then be adapted to things here on Earth. So that is what kind of makes space interesting for me, the pinnacle of human engineering, the pinnacle of technology, and yeah, the future is very bright when it comes to space.
Awesome. My name is Jayden Sage. I have only one single goal, and it applies to each and every one of you and everybody else out there in the world, which is to take you to get off from your phones and look, instead of looking down at your phone, to look up into space, because humanity's future doesn't lie in digital code manipulation by other fellow humans. Our goals actually lie to make humanity interplanetary, and that is where we give birth to a new solar system where we can all prosper rather than keep having infights on planet Earth. That's, in a nutshell, what Celestial's mandates are. But it's composed of a think tank called the Foundation, as well as a venture fund where we invest in companies that are in the Space 2.0 industry.
Amazing. That is indeed, it hits many points. So, going back to the States and to USA, where Jayden comes from. So you might have seen on social media this year, last summer, myself and Gordon and a few others, together with the government, we had the opportunity to visit a number of key players in space, and these included NASA Ames in Silicon Valley, Stanford, a number of genome companies, and then we also visited LA to visit SpaceX headquarters and some other interesting companies nearby. And this was incredible, to say the least. It was an eye-opener as well, but it's also impressive to see that these companies are, after all, made up by people just like myself and you there sitting there. And these are people who are really building rockets, next-gen tools and technology to take people and defy gravity and out of Earth. So it's really amazing to have seen that. For me, on a personal level, besides the work that I do on life sciences, it also was personal because the missions that we sent last year, which was Malta's first mission to the ISS, and this year as well. So these are experiments that are contained in a small payload, and they are sent into a trajectory to the space station using these tools and assets that companies build for us to use them as assets, basically. Besides the work that we do directly by designing and planning the experiments, we also capitalize on data and technology that is already available, because you must know that we are living at a time where there's so much data being generated, but it might not necessarily be that all that data is being currently interpreted or analyzed. So we must be aware of that divide, and we must capitalize on that, and be perhaps be a bit more efficient on how to interpret and handle that data. I think that is a challenge that needs to be addressed.
Fair enough. So I wanted to ask you, what is the engagement of the Maltese government, as well as the industry, as well as the university structure here, that will allow it to be onboarded into the grander space ecosphere that's being built out globally?
Yes, indeed. So in Malta, I think there was and there still is a strong ecosystem that reflects Earth observation technology, all the tools and tech that are from space to Earth. The space bioscience aspect is gaining momentum. And in fact, myself and Gordon here, we also have Space Omics that fills this gap precisely.
For sure. It's also the synergy, right, between government, university, and industry, which makes all of this amazing. So there are many, many, many opportunities. And backtracking to Malta 1, right, it was a collaboration between university, between government and industry, and this collaboration is what made Malta 1 actually work. So that was, at least for me, an eye-opener about how this synergy between different areas, different entities, and different stakeholders with different remits, after all, can make progress happen. And I think that there is, to answer you, where the government is headed, right? So we've been part of this delegation, and we've seen this happen a lot. We've seen this as being part of the government's core mission to enable startups, to enable innovative companies to invest in the space industry, but not just on their own, in collaboration with universities and in collaboration with other government entities such as NASA and such as all of these companies which are at the very forefront of the space industry.
Awesome. I want to do a little bit of a pivot and talk a little bit about why space is important to you and what your engagement can be. So space actually is the hardest endeavor humanity will engage in. And we're going to need people, bright minds and dedicated, passionate people from around the world. It's not something that you can rest your laurels thinking, well, the US has got it and China's got it and we don't need that. Humanity is nodal, if I can take a blockchain reference, and bright minds are all over the world. So we need in space for the bright minds from around the world and passionate people who dedicate their life to this endeavor. So why should we do this endeavor? The biggest challenge we have is we've reached peak population. From here on, humanity starts descending. So going back to my earlier point is that the bright minds, there'll just automatically be less of them. The passionate minds, there'll automatically be less of them. Believe it or not, we've reached peak population. From here on, it starts going down, and we're actually contributing to that with our technology. The more empowered the developing world becomes, the less children they have, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So in general, we need everybody, including countries who are passionate, such as the Maltese, to come in and help us in this endeavor.
Indeed, indeed. And in fact, I must also mention this because just today it became public as well, that Malta, despite being a small island population and a small country, I mean, we also participate and collaborate with other space agencies and collaborators, including people based in the States. And besides the country space agencies, NASA, ESA, there is now, and for the past couple of years now, a build-up and a momentum of private and business commercial intent. One such program is the Polaris program by billionaire Jared Isaacman in the States, CEO of Shift4. And Jared Isaacman was the one who sent Inspiration 4 last year. And next year, he's leading the next mission by a SpaceX flight to high Earth orbit, so close to where the Apollo missions were. And in Malta, for the first time, myself and my team shall be partnering with a group in Canada, in Ottawa, and we will be handling blood samples from astronauts before they launch to space, blood samples taken in space, and blood samples when they fall back to Earth. And these will be brought in Malta, and they will be analyzed in our labs at the University of Malta and other partners. So this, I believe, is one entry point, and I'm pretty sure that there will be many more other entry points, whether it is human health and science or other aspects of bioscience.
It also presents opportunities on so many levels, right? So Malta is a small island, but there is talent here, there is will to invest in new technology, there is the will to learn more, to keep on improving. That is something that is, I mean, felt a lot here. There are investors, there is investment, there is the capacity to keep on investing and keep on innovating. And space opens up a lot of doors in this regard. So in the fields of biology, in the fields of technology, in the fields of transportation, in all of these different fields, anything that you can think of, basically. We've even had some projects which relate to the arts and to creative industries and whatnot. So there are so many opportunities in space that if tapped correctly, they can open up a lot of opportunities for future generations, but also help humanity at large. For me, something which is fascinating about space, even though, quite recently this unfortunately has been declining as well, but it brings so many people together, as you were saying, Jayden, so it requires so much of the human intelligence, so much of the human ingenuity that we have to look beyond countries, we have to look beyond all of these things and come together and work on a common goal, so to say. So that is fascinating.
Did you guys notice that the word small was used a few times? So if I spend a lot of time in Silicon Valley, and over there we have redwood trees, sequoias, and those are the largest trees on this planet. And guess what? They start out as a seed you can put, a very small seed that you can carry 10 sequoias in your pocket. So it is not the size of the country, it is not the size of the startup, it is not the size of a government or the size of your heart. It is what you want to achieve for humanity that will drive you to become a giant redwood tree. It doesn't really matter. Even in the United States, it started out as 13 colonies. Effectively, it started out as 3, and then you grow from there. So I think many nations consider themselves, and many people consider themselves insignificant in something as vast as the space industry. What can I contribute? Guess what? The truth is, there's a lot you can contribute, because when you take humanity into space, everything humanity does on Earth is required in space, because the common denominator on Earth and the common denominator in space will be the human. So all services will be required. I'm from New York. I have an office in New York. And the fashion industry is always reaching out to me how they can engage. So most people don't make that connection. Most people think of it as like, okay, rocketry, rocket scientists. Even if you're in the apparel industry, you're going to need a different set of attire for space travel and for space settlement. So every industry, if you can think of an industry, it has a space application in the near future. So there is something for everybody to engage. If you believe in the ethos that human should be multiplanetary, then there is a place for you. And we need you more now than ever.
That's nicely put. So I think in the interest of time, I think I can also mention here, right? I mean, you see me here, you see Gordon, and in the context of Spaceomics and the team at university, there's a huge number of people who are members of staff and scientists who also are part of the team for us to be here and present to you about the missions that we send to space, what we're sending next year. I mean, it is never a one-man show to get the final product. And lastly, and I will conclude here myself, is that, of course, Earth, out of Earth, but there's also the Moon and Mars. And indeed, I also hope to be here, sitting here, or maybe a different place, and tell you how Spaceomics traveled to the Moon and the Mars in the future to come, which is not that impossible.
Everything that we're currently using and claiming how awesome we are and giving ourselves props for is the courtesy of the space industry. From the laptop to the GPS, you can't get to your favorite restaurant today without the space superstructure above you hurling at 26,000 miles per minute, helping you. So everything we do in space, so the takeaway is if everything we think today is coming, that's awesome, is coming from space tech, then what else we will get when space tech becomes much larger?
Gordon?
My concluding notes are, yes, I fully agree with you. I mean, technology has always been pushed by the space industry, so definitely for sure. I mean, it's really important that we focus and give this industry the attention that it should be given.
Excellent.
I just want to hit one other point, which people think that we're on Earth and space is out there. Space is not out there, guys. This is a rock floating in space right now at a very fast velocity. You're in space right now. Don't be fooled by the artificial cover that's provided by our atmosphere. That could actually evaporate in a second, and you'll see how fast you are in space. And it happens to us every night where the universe reminds us, because the sun goes away and you can see that you're actually in space.
And if you want to know more or go to space or send something to space, please feel free to reach us out.
Thank you for listening to us, guys.
Thank you.